Well, we're going to do what they say that you're not really supposed to do. We're going to turn this 3/4 classical guitar into a parlor guitar. It's a nylon string guitar, and we're going to revamp it and make it to where I can put steel strings on it. So I'll just kind of show you what we're going to do. One reason I know that it's good enough to put steel strings on is it has a truss rod in it right there, so we can make adjustments with the neck. A lot of classical guitars don't have truss rods. They'll just have reinforcement and stuff like that, but they don't have a truss rod. The other problem is the bridge, and these have a different type of bracing than a regular acoustic steel string, so there's not as much bracing on the top of the guitar, and you know, you wind up running the chance of pulling the bridge off of the guitar top, and we don't want that to happen either. So one of the things we're going to have to do, try to stay out of the light. So one of the things we're going to have to do is we're going to put this, tailpiece on here. This is a vintage Harmony tailpiece, and when we get through this, it's going to look very similar to some of the old Harmony parlor guitars that they made, and this tailpiece came off of one of them. I purchased it online, and we're going to have to bend it down where it is flat against the bottom. I mean, against the top of the guitar. The bottom of the tailpiece will be flat against the guitar so that these strings are as low as possible. And one of the things that I'm going to do, because this tailpiece, try to get it back in the frame a little better, the tailpiece has a little bit different spacing than a classical guitar. One of the things I really like about this 3/4 guitar is it has a classical spacing here on the bridge, and then on the neck, at the nut, we have a 1 3/4. That's usually 2 or slightly over 2 inches on a regular classical, but since this is a 3/4 guitar, we have a 1 3/4 spacing at the nut, and so that's going to lend itself pretty much to a parlor guitar. That's about the same measurements that they're going to have. So what we're going to do is we're going to modify this bridge. Part of the problem with this bridge also is a classical guitar with nylon strings does not intonate the same way that a 6-string acoustic intonates. And so we don't have enough adjustment with the bridge the way that it is. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to put a template on there like this. I'm trying to do this one-handed, but it fits right on top of that bridge. I'm going to clamp it down a little bit, but I'm going to run a bit over it, and I've actually got that upside down. So it'll fit on there like that. It'll fit on there like that. And what that's going to do, I'm going to run a pattern bit, mortising bit, in this template, and it's going to take out this part where the saddle goes. I'm going to take this completely down, even a little bit lower than the top of this bridge right here. I'm going to flatten that part out a little bit too, so it's going to be flat all the way across here. So I'm going to make another bridge that's what you would call a floating bridge. It'll have a saddle in it, and the adjustment on it will be able to, when this is flat, I can I can rock it back and forth side to side. We're going to need more adjustment on the base. There's holes where the classical string went through, and then you would tie it, or if you had ball end strings, they would just go in there, you know, and the ball end would be showing right there. So I'm going to leave most of this and let the strings go through from that tailpiece through here. That's going to give me the proper spacing, and then once we get over here, then it's going to go over the floating bridge that's there, and the spacing will be right, and we'll be able to move our bridge back and forth and get it intonated pretty well. So that's what we're going to be doing. The only other thing that I'm doing is I'm upgrading the tuners on this. The tuners on it are not very good. This is a, see if you can see in there, it's an Alvarez 3/4 classical guitar, and the frets, you know, coming from the factory on a cheap guitar are never dressed as well as what you'd like them to be, but that's not a big deal. We can dress those and clean them up, shape them up, recrown them, and make a nice neck out of this. I like the way it feels. I like that 3/4 nut. I like the shape of the neck. So it feels comfortable in my hand, and that's one reason I'm willing to put a little bit of work into this and make a really nice playable parlor size guitar. It's going to be a fun little project. It's not going to take an extreme amount of work, and as long as I don't screw something up really bad, then we're going to wind up with a nice little guitar. Okay, well, that wasn't too painful. Trying to get a little better shot here so you can see what is actually gone. All of that bridge, as far as where the saddle belongs, has been routed out now. A little bit of where the strings came through is also gone. That's about 3/8 wide now. It was almost half, not quite. And another thing that I did is I took it down a little further, trying to get it to where you can see it here, but I took it down a little bit further than what it was, because another problem was classical guitars normally have a higher action than steel string guitars. And this one, I had already worked on the saddle after I got it, and I had the action down to where it was a very playable action for a classical guitar, and well within the normal limits of classical guitar, but a little bit high still for a steel string guitar. So I wanted to have a little bit of extra play here, and I got about a 1/16, and that's a lot more than you think when you start trying to set the action on a guitar like that. So this worked exactly the way I wanted it to. I'd originally thought about just removing this whole bridge. Being that it's got a burgundy stain on it, then I decided it's much better to just leave this bridge on here and just take it down to where we can start over as far as the saddle height goes. This is going to work really well for what we want. Okay, we got a little bit done here. Besides putting this tailpiece on, I don't know if you can see that, we've got a hole drilled for an end pin jack. I forgot to mention a while ago that this is going to get a Recording King gold foil sound hole pickup. It's going to clip right in here, and it's already a pre-wired jack, which is okay as long as it'll go through that tail block. And I've got a longer one if I need to put it on there, but it's kind of nice not to have to solder everything up. So hopefully it will go through the tail block on this, and we won't have to change out the jack. But I think it's going to sound really cool once we get that in there, and then we can play acoustically, or we can plug it in for some down and dirty blues. So I like the way this tailpiece looks. I'm gonna back out a little bit here. I think with that burgundy top, it looks really cool. I cleaned this up a little bit. It was fairly grungy. I'm sure that that they left the way it was when it came off of whatever instrument they salvaged it from. But I took a little bit of fine steel wool, just got some of the grunge off of it. It's still a little bit relict. It's 50 something years old. So I think that heart shape looks pretty cool with that red background. I wasn't even thinking of that when I bought the tailpiece. There was a couple of different ones. There was one that was solid all in here, and then there was a couple of them like this, and this was the one I ordered, not even realizing it had a heart shape in that. So that looks cool with that burgundy red background. And then the bridge itself, or what was the bridge, and it will be part of the bridge again, but it's really just something for the bridge set on. But I sanded it down and used a rub-on finish. It's a shellac and oil finish, and whatever this wood is, it's kind of a fake ebony. It's not ebony, but it looks a lot like ebony. That and the fretboard are the same thing, and the headstock material is the same thing, but the fretboard and the bridge were just dry. I mean, they'd have nothing done to them. So I sanded it down. I had already taken care of the neck, the fretboard, and cleaned it up and oiled it down, and so it looks nice. And now the bridge matches the fretboard and the headstock, and it looks a lot better than it did when it left the factory. So we're getting there. I'm waiting on my tuners. All of this was ordered at the same time from different places, but the tuners are coming from Akron, Ohio, and kind of in the middle of this snowmageddon here at the first few days of February 2022. And the last notification I had, it had just shipped out of Akron, so it's going to be a few days before I get it. It was supposed to arrive today. These other pieces were supposed to arrive yesterday, but they got here today, so the snow and ice slowed them down a little bit, but not too bad. I'm glad I was able to get out here and get this stuff on. And when I get those tuners, it's not going to take very long to switch those out. So if I've got everything else done by the time I get those, then that will be a good thing. So I'll come back when I've got a little bit more done. Okay, so here's our little floating bridge saddle. It's going to go on top of the old bridge, and it's just a little piece of 1/4 inch thick ebony, genuine ebony, and has a jumbo fret. That's not focusing very well. Anyway, it has a jumbo fret in it that's going to serve as our saddle. Now the way I'll adjust it is once I get it strung up and get everything on there, then I can remove material from the bottom and adjust the height of it. I'll have a lot of room for adjustment. This is going to work real well, I believe. And once we get this on there and get it strung up, we'll see what our action's like, and then go from there.